We are coming to Durham, North Carolina at the end of July, hosting a prophetic training for people who are called and released into warfare.
Welcome to the Prophetic View broadcast with Prophetess Miranda. Before we begin, don't forget that August 10th begins the official launch of Prophetess Miranda's new school platform. Early enrollment is available now. Visit www.prophetessmiranda.com and enroll for free today to secure your place. Beginning August 10th, the entire Prophetic View broadcast library and all future live broadcasts will be available exclusively through the new school platform. Now, let's join Prophetess Miranda for the Prophetic View.
God bless you. Welcome to the Prophetic View. This is Prophetess Miranda. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I have another session of Heart to Heart. So whenever I have a heart to heart, it's just a download that God has given me that I just feel like He's dropped it in my belly. And today we're going to be talking about what is prophetic mentorship. Now, as I share my heart with you and give you this prophetic download, I want you to take notes and I want you to really discern yourself. I'm going to say some sweet truths and some hard truths, but some things that is going to really enlighten you and give you full directions for your life. I tell you what, whenever I get truth, my directions for the pathway of my life gets clearer. Whenever I'm getting ready to go into a different place with God, and God's getting ready to shift things, He sends a person or He sends a messenger or He shifts things by giving me truths and hard directions. And when I say hard direction, that's just sometimes it may not be things that I've expected. Let me say this. Those of you that's been walking with God for quite some time, you understand that God will say and do some things and cause you to be a part of some things that you never thought possible. Well, that's the way my life was and still is. I believe when you walk with God, it's a life of surprises. You learn to walk the faith walk. Well, the prophetic mentorship has to be a walk of faith as well, but it has powerful keys to giving you clear directions, sharpening your gifts, harnessing, the giftings that has entered your life through strange fire, which that happens to many people. They will get excited about the gifts, get lost and absorbed in them, but they forget to keep the God of the gift in the forefront, and sometimes they get into strange fire. But mentorship and prophetic mentorship is one that curves that. Because if you get a prophetic mentor, they're going to know how to shape you to be able to know how to deal with the gift that God has put in you. There's so many reasons for mentorship, and we'll go through several of them today. So some of our topics for today is going to be what is prophetic mentorship? Mentorship can be abused. What is a spiritual mentor? Mentorship is an assignment. The core purpose for biblical mentorship. And let's walk the word about mentorship. And then last but definitely not least, we'll be covering the wounded mentee. So let's get ready. We have a lot to cover today. I pray that you open up your heart because I'm going to talk from a prophetic perspective. And I pray that the Spirit of the Lord just literally cause this to be cool water to go down in your spirit, man, and help you to get clearer insight. One of the most worst misconception about mentorship is people think it's someone to tell you what to do. It's just basically your own little dial-up prophet that you talk to 10 times a day, or that you talk to them for hours and upon hours. And any of you that has listened to any of my messages, you do know I have issues with that. And I do, because I don't think you should be talking hours and hours with anyone, because I believe there will be a demonic transfer or some type of transfer. And I believe you shouldn't be talking to nobody but Jesus for that amount of time. So that way you can get a transfer from him and him alone. In my earlier years of lack of knowledge, I thought because I mentored people, I had to steer them from their own demonic spirits that was in them and their own will and their own way of things that they wanted to do and how they wanted to live, because I lacked knowledge about mentorship. And one day, the Spirit of the Lord set me down and he gave me something called red light, 911 red light. And he began to tell me the true meaning of what mentorship was and what it looked like. And I began to change and shift. I was not one that chose mentorship. I didn't. In my early years, oh my God, maybe in my late 20s, the Lord began to have me to mentor many young girls that mothers put them out. I remember a young woman at a bus stop with 2 kids, and the Spirit of the Lord told me to be able to help her. And I tell you what, it was nothing but an angel. I did not even know at that time he was using me as an angel. And I mean, years later, I got a letter from her that was quite a blessing. And it really got me to really see that even in the midst of your turmoil where you don't think you're prepared, God is always platforming you for what he's really called you for. Sometimes I call it, God gives you these little trial times where he tests you. And sometimes those little spurts are things as a glimpse of what he's really taking you to. So, for my personal feelings about mentorship is I believe mentorship is a divine privilege from God. I believe it's an honor to be able to mentor someone. And let me speak to the mentors just for a moment. If you're mentoring someone, and maybe you don't call it mentoring, you just talk to people all the time, or there's certain people that pull on you and you guide them and direct them, and you do it on a consistent basis. Well, whether you know it or not, you are mentoring them. You are. And mentorship is powerful because God can use you at some of the most trying times in a person's life. And you may not know those people will be prepared to give up or go another direction or go into something that could be uh, catastrophic for their lives. And God will be using you. So I don't take mentorship for granted, not by anyone. Sometimes it's for a short season, but according to the scriptures, mentorship literally it's usually a lifetime. Typically, a mentor walks you into the greatness of your life. So many people want microwave these days. They want instant. And if a mentor is not giving them what they want, they're not stroking them the way they want, they're not interpreting their dreams or walking through every problem or telling them who to marry, who not to marry, or walking them through every family fight, whether or not they're delivered or want to be delivered or not. And all of that is total red lights for mentorship. Spiritual mentorship, let me say that. It's totally not God. It's just not God. But unfortunately, that is what's in today's world. But today, let me just give you a glimpse of what mentorship really is. Every mentorship relationship should have a God purpose. There should be immediately, especially if you're prophetic. So let me walk you through. When I see someone and I know the Lord has given them to me, sometimes they want to come in homestead, and it's really not for them to do that. Sometimes the Lord will give me a word of the Lord for them, a word of warning, and sometimes it's just to get them through a hard place. It's just to get them through a season. Sometimes some people have already missed their season. So they're in a season of trying to recoup, because most time people who really seek out mentorship, You wouldn't believe this, but it's usually the rebellious ones who've messed up. And they're starting to realize that they're losing time. And whenever a person gets to a place that they realize they have lost time, they begin to think a little different. So then they're looking for someone that fits in their profile, that will be someone that will be loving, someone that will be nurturing, someone that has the prophetic, someone that'll be able to help build them a platform or they can attach themselves to. And all of those are wrong reasons to select a mentor, to even pursue a mentor, or even inquire for mentorship from a person based on those reasons. Um, on my platform, sometime um, for years, for the last 3 years, I've had applications, over 2 or 3 thousand applications, and I pray about them. And sometimes people really don't believe that I actually select the people who are in the mentorship. I decide whether or not they are going to be a part of the program. And I'm very, very stern in regards to what's on their Facebooks, what kind of lifestyle, what kind of order, what type of, are they just a loose cannon just looking for prophecy? Because most of the time they will think I'm a dollar prophet, and they will think I'm one that's coming to just look into them and constantly give them a word and discern every dream. And see, they're just looking for a soothsayer, and that's not what they're going to find here. So, see, those are some of the experiences that many people have because they don't understand that mentorship is a spiritual thing. And those people who God has anointed to mentor you into your life at a pivotal time. And this is why it's so important to listen and behave and really honor the mentor with the words. I don't mean honor the person, like, bringing them gifts and all of this, which I have many people that sow into me and I'm grateful for it. But mentorship is not about the mentor. It's about the mentee, and it's about the vision. It's about the dream. It's about the thing that's on their life. It's about the mantle that's hidden deep within them. The diamond under the rough, like, there's so much yuck on top of them. Nobody want to deal with them. They don't want to, who wants to go dig out all of that? I remember one time there's this wonderful guy, and he says, I really just need you to help me and I need you to mentor me. He says, no one will take the time. I said, no one wants to deal with your pride and all that baggage that's behind you. I said, they see the gift. Oh, they want the gift. They want the gift, and they see that you have a spirit of wealth on you. But there's so much luggage behind you of bondage, and God has to anoint someone to deal with that luggage. And he just looked at me. He didn't know what to say. He said, so that's why they get so far, and then next thing you know, they tell me, they pass me on to somebody else. He said, this has happened like 6 times. He said, I've been to like 4 churches. He says, I've had like 6 mentors. He said, I would say, what is the problem? I said, oh, there's about 7 suitcases of luggage back there that needs to be dealt with, starting with your childhood and your parents. I said, but nobody's going to deal with that because it's going to take time. It's going to take labor. It's going to be rough. They're going to have to tell you some rough stuff. They're going to have to labor with you. And nobody really wants to go through that, especially if you think you're okay and you're going to be fighting them. They're like, well, we're just going to let him just believe that he's okay. Oh, my goodness. I tell you what, it was an awakening for him. I couldn't even believe I was actually telling him this, but I saw in his heart he was ready. It was the first time I had ever seen someone that was so tired of just people passing him on. He said, great prophets, great people. He says, and I'm a servant. He says, I pay tithes. He said, I'm one that learns well. He said, I just don't understand. I said, oh, you got baggage, baby. And your giftings have covered up a lot of those baggages, but I can see them. My God, my God. So, mentorship is a spiritual assignment into the lives of God's people. You have to understand, when I tell you that I choose the people in mentorship, and sometimes people get real upset. They'll be like, "Well, I'm tired of waiting. You could keep my application." And you know what? Then I know that they're not for me, because one thing about mentorship, you're gonna have to be patient, because baby, that stuff that's in you, just like it took years to get in there, sometimes it takes years to come out. It doesn't have to be, because I believe in supernatural healing, and I believe the Spirit of the Lord can whoop Mayalabaha, and pull that thing out of you, and overnight you be a new person. But see, some of this stuff is learned behavior. You've been in the crevices of religion. You've been in the crevices of tradition. You've made decisions that now got you trapped in a situation of tradition, and you're stuck. And now you got to just let God get you out of there, or let God smooth that thing over and make it livable. Let me say that. But mentorship is a spiritual assignment. It's spiritual. It's not about things and what you want and what you think. Do you know most time people go into a mentorship relationship and they have the spirit of abandonment, the spirit of rejection, the spirit of entitlement, the spirit of poverty, and the spirit of perversion. Those are usually the 5 spirits that plague them. And most time they have struggled with it so much, it's hindered many opportunities, business, church membership. It's hindered relationships, intimate relationships, marital relationships, and even friend relationships. So they're getting to a point that they're like, I need someone to help me with this. Because eventually you're going to say, what's holding me back? So I tell you what, I'm getting ready to head to Bloomington. What is it? Bloomington, Illinois. And I'm going to be talking about what's holding you back. And I'm literally going to go into the crevices and to the walls of the different spirits that could be holding you back from your release into ministry, your release into a marriage, your release into business, your release into the prophetic, and you're wondering what is holding you back. And if you're under the sound of my voice, I promise you, you know who you are. Because you know what? I knew who I was. Oh yeah, when they would say that, stuck, I was like, that's me. That's me. Yep, me. I'd raise my hand. Yep, that's me. That's me. Because after a while, you get to a place you stop lying to yourself. Even though you might find yourself very successful, financial, you may live well, sleep well, all of that. But let me just say this: mentorship in itself can also be abused. It can be abused by the mentor, and it can be abused by the mentee. Let me deal with the mentees first. If you're looking for a mother, or if you're looking for a father, although you're saying you're looking for a business mentor, or you're looking for a prophetic mentor to guide you in your calling, but really you need healing and deliverance from the things that are in your life that are preventing your success in the prophetic or your success in the business. But it can be abused. So mentorship can also be misinterpreted. There are people who will say to their total soul and heart, they will say, no, I don't think she's my mother. No, I don't think it's there are times that a mentorship relationship, the mentor may have to groom and guide them in things where a mother should have. The other day I woke up and the Lord said that mentorship literally does what the mother refused to do, or the mother didn't do, or the mother didn't know how to do. Literally, that's what he said. And I said, whoa. And sometimes, unfortunately, it's what the mother refused to do. There's so many people will come to me and said, and I'll say, well, tell me, you're preparing to get married. What is your family? What is your family's beliefs? Because that's so important in preparing for marriage. And you will also find that in mentorship, you need to know what those people believe, because in mentorship, I've found individuals who didn't know how to do many personal things and did not, their concept on marriage and trusting people and, believing everything they hear. So mentorship can be misinterpreted, and it's only because of a lack of knowledge. Mentorship should not be a surrogate. And let me just say this, and I'm going to talk to the mentors right now. You can never be these people's mother or father. You cannot. Can you guide them? Can you give revelation? Can you give support? Can you sometimes support them? But a true mentor is always going to heal and bridge the gap and bring those people back to their parents. Sometimes God will use the mentor to literally use them to heal the daughter and heal the mother and heal the father, or vice versa. Heal the father, and because sometimes the father has hurt and he can't be the real father. But most times you're going to learn that selfish mentors try to replace the mother or replace the father. And you can never do that, because irregardless to how good you are to them and how you save their lives and how you keep them out of messes and how you keep the enemy from devouring them, they still have that parent's blood in them. And there will always be a need to yearn for that mother or that father. You can never replace it. I'm a living witness. And, it does not matter. It doesn't even matter what they do. You might say, well, some of those parents don't even work being called parents. And I agree. I fully agree. They don't even deserve the title. I agree. But that still does not change the fact that that mother brought that child here. And there's a bond that is unbreakable. My God. And guess what? God doesn't want it broken, because it's not meant to be broken. It's meant to be repaired. Oh, my God. My God. Next, a mentor should shape your spiritual life for accountability, holiness, and preparing for the things to come. See, whenever you're a prophetic mentor, you have to understand accountability is going to be vital, not vital to their personal life, vital to their spiritual life, vital to the things that God has called them for, and vital to the journey they're going to have to go through to get to the real place that they're called for. Now, you will understand that a mentor must guide them in holiness. Most time, they've been in churches for years and years and years, and there's been no training on what is holiness. Most mentors' first assignment is to have to teach them the do's and don'ts rule. Keeping it holy. Sometimes I'll ask, are you keeping it holy? And they'll look at me like, what? People still do that? Yes. If they don't, that's why you got them legal rights inside of your life. You wondering why Low Blow Joe was able to do what they were able to do in your life and why they were able to come in and raise habit, because somebody opened up a door and gave the enemy legal right. But a mentor has to shape them in accountability, in holiness, and preparing them for the things to come. This is why a prophetic mentor is different from any other kind of mentor, because they foresee. There's so many things that a mentor can groom and guide a person in if they have spiritual eyes. This is the reason why the mentor's eyes should be deeper than the mentee. Now, some people have wonderful gifts. I have mentees that God display his glory in phenomenal ways. But let me say this, and I have amazing gifts. But guess what? I never think I don't ever have to go sit before my mentor. I don't ever think that if I'm getting ready to make a major decision in my life that I don't have to submit. I don't have to say all my stuff. I do not have to. But guess what? Humility and wisdom, wisdom tells me submit, humble yourself, get eyes that are deeper, get wisdom from a person that's lived longer. Oh yes, and by God, you definitely want somebody who's visited the heavens that they can see deeper than you. Oh my God. A mentor should be able to see deeper. And let me say this, there are many different types of prophetic mentors. Some mentors, like me, I groom people for righteousness and to obtain the power of true prophetic with greatness. You know why? Because the first thing the Lord have me to do is get the old out of them and guide them in holiness. I believe I'm called to pull people out of tradition. And most time they don't even know they're in tradition. It's some of the most unbelievable things that they never would imagine that they're in tradition. And that's that thing that makes them go from church to church to church to church and has the same thing going on. Sometimes it's a wound from a mother, a wound from a father. Sometimes it's something that you were rejected from as a kid. And guess what? That rejected thing is in that businessman. And every so often it shows up. Oh my God, my God. So, what is a spiritual mentor? Now, a spiritual mentor is a godly relationship. And I'm going to say godly. And I have traveled this world and I've heard so many horror stories where the mentor seduces the mentee. Or, not personally, this is just personally. And I'm not saying that it's wrong, but I believe that a woman should have a woman mentor and a man should have a man mentor. Now, that's just my personal belief, personal preferences. Let me say that. Do I believe that you can attend prophetic schools or be in certain mentorships that are group? Sure, 100%. That could be male, female, absolutely, 100%. But if you're dealing with one-on-one and you're dealing with, I call it the core trenches of mentorship, where somebody has to guide you and get in your stuff to help you really get on the road. And there are people, sometimes there is not enough mentors, I want you to know. And I believe a mentor is someone who is anointed and gifted in a particular area. Some people are anointed. They are anointed to help organize people's lives, get the trash out, help them get their credit, help them get on the road to success, pull them out of wrong relationships, teach them and train them. Some people are anointed for this. Some people are anointed to help you get in business and get aligned. Wonderful, wonderful. Do you understand? But I still believe if it's personal, because there's such a transfer, I don't believe that it should be a man mentoring a woman that close unless his wife is right there with him. And that the wife is as equally anointed for mentoring this person. I also believe that mentees should be prayerful before they allow someone to mentor them. They should discern somebody's life. They should watch them for 2 or 3 years. Unaware. Oh yeah, because there's some strange people that will take advantage of young, innocent persons. And I've heard the stories. And I tell you what, it hurts you. It hurts you when you're listening to them. And sometimes you will have vultures that are in the pulpits or vultures that are in the title of mentorship. And they will use the weakness of the person and the weak things of the person. Oh my God, my God. And let me say this. Let's go back to the mentees. And some mentees, they're prideful. They want everything secret. Come over here. Come pray for me over here. And don't tell nobody. I look at it this way. When you really delivered, see all these secret things, all this secret stuff. No, baby, you. Oh my God, your pride is on the rise. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Because see, when you really are liberated and free, you don't really care. You tell the stuff yourself. But see, when you get to the point you want to hide your image, baby, you miss the pride. And you strap with Sally Sue because you got Mrs. Pride. And anywhere that pride is, there's strife and evil. Because a prideful person is always going to be in competition. They're always going to want what somebody else got. They're going to clone what somebody else got. And see, this is the first call. This is what I call digging in the trenches. This is the first part of mentorship. There are people that I mentor. I've never gotten out of the trenches. We've never gone to the glory place, to the developing, to the implementing, to the training, to the on-site training and the traveling and things of that nature and supporting them and putting them in platforms. We never got there. You know why? Because we're still in the trenches of religion, of unforgiveness, bitterness, um, strife on the inside, jealous of people. Oh, yeah, my God. And one thing you have to realize when you deal with a prophetic mentor, God will make people come back and say the things that people have said. And one thing you don't realize, see, whenever you're dealing with religious people, somebody gonna come back and say it. Oh, it's one of the most unbelievable things. But I say this to you. So what is a spiritual mentor? It's a godly relationship with actually an experienced person that may be experienced in certain areas, whether it's the prophetic, whether it's mentoring, whether it's the prophetic, what seeing, or whatever the key may be. And sometimes, now for me, let me just say for me, I meet people when they're in the deep trenches, when they've been hurt in churches, abused, misused, passed on, and I have many of them. And sometimes people just will say, I remember one lady told me, she said, well, I'm just going to be honest with you. She said, they said, I got too much baggage and nobody has time to go that deep back. And I got too much, I'm too broken. And I said, okay. She said, a pastor told me that. She said, nobody's not going to want to mentor you. Because nobody's going to want to go way that deep down, way back there and dig in all of that. And you know what? I would have wished I could have said the pastor wasn't true. Was what he said wasn't true. But guess what? It was true. It was definitely true. Because there was so much brokenness there that she had learned to live, to think herself happy and make herself feel that she was where she wasn't. And so nobody wanted to deal with that level of pride. So they just agreed with her. Lord have mercy. I could remember days, and I have several mentors, several of them. And I have said on many occasions, I have said, Lord, send me someone anointed for me. And don't let them just pacify me, because I need help and I'm ready for truth. When I prayed that prayer, the heavens opened up in almost 5 areas of my life. The Lord just started sending mentor after mentor. One as a woman, one is a prophetic vessel, one is a seer, one in the supernatural. Oh yeah, one in dealing with restoration of relationships, one as a seer. It was phenomenal. Phenomenal. And I said, my God, all I had to do was humble myself. So those of you that are under the sound of my voice, if you're wondering why you keep going from mentor to mentor and why they keep leaving and why they just get tired, because I'm going to be honest with you, I've had mentors to come to me and they just said, I'm tired, because there are some people, they just want you to talk them. And that's really a perverted spirit. Because when people just want you to talk, they really want you to just feel their need. It's a perverted spirit. And sometimes you got to cast that thing out. Yeah, I don't care how gifted he is. He could be as wealthy as wealthy. It doesn't matter. That's not going to move the demons. My God. And even in all the greatness upon his life, guess what? Eventually, that demon going to show itself back up. And after a few years, they're going to realize that demon is there. And then there's going to be a problem. And there are a lot of people who are really looking for mentorship. Guess what they do? They're going to plant themselves close to the pastor. They're going to pursue. They're going to plant themselves. And you know what? They already got the mind healing problem. And let me say this to you. And those of you that are under the sound of my voice, and you're listening to me and you're saying, oh my God, prophetess, that was me. That was me. I did go to that church looking for a mother. I did go to that church looking for a pastor. And I could remember when I first got on the road the first 3 years, I kept telling people, I'm not a church. I'm not a pastor. I am not. I am a prophetic a prophetess. I'm a prophetess and I have a voice to the nation, and I'm a teacher, a trainer, and a mentor. And I kept telling them, I'm not a pastor. And they would just make me their pastor. And I'm like, no, you're not going to require of me. Because, see, but that let me know that they didn't know what a pastor was. Because a pastor is very different from a mentor. I'm teaching somebody something. And there's some of you now that are going to these churches and you're demanding from these pastors, and you are wrong for doing that. Because some of them don't have the qualifications to mentor. They're not anointed to mentor. They don't have the patience. They don't have the authority. They don't even have, they can't even deal with you. And then you want to boss them. You want them texting you every day. You got a personal problem. You have a mama problem or a daddy problem. There's a parental thing going on there. And somewhere you're demanding from this man or this woman. And I've seen it a lot of times. I remember one particular case, and this woman, and she said, well, will you call them? And I said, well, why do you want me to call them? And I did. I don't know. I just felt led to it. And the man was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's just, he wasn't a mentor. He was prophetic. He was powerful. He was wonderful. I mean, wonderful. But he wasn't a mentor. And he was just a pastor. And I don't mean that in any demeaning way. Just everybody in the fivefold ministry got to be who they are. And sometimes people, when they're hurting, they think, well, you're my pastor. I don't think your pastor should be texting you 3-4 times a week. That's a problem. You need counseling. You need a therapist. You need to go find a Christian therapist, and you need to go get some mending of your mom and your dad, and stop looking for them to be. And see, some of you are wondering, well, everywhere I go, they do this to me. Everywhere I go, it looks like I get in this place. Well, I'm just going to say this to you. I need you to really think about this. Because if everywhere you go, you're doing this, could it be that you are the problem? You are looking for your parents, and maybe you don't know how to heal your parents. I could remember in my childhood. I remember one day, the Lord set me down, and I said, God, why does this hurt me so much? He said, because you never forgave your father. And I was like, what? I said, oh my God, Lord, what? I said, what do you mean? He said, you never forgave him for the errors in his life that he couldn't help himself. And he said, wasn't you the woman? He said, was you the child? Oh my God. That thing brought me to the floor. I was like, what? Oh my God. I didn't even realize that, because as far as me, oh my God, my father was an amazing carpenter. Oh my God. Like he would build mansions, beautiful things. I mean, like spiral staircases. And they would call him explicitly to do this. And I was just like, what? This doesn't, I said, I don't understand. And I kept trying to dig into my heart. And I was like, what? And the Lord began to bring 2 or 3 incidents. And he said, you didn't understand his addiction. You didn't understand his wisdom, his weakness as a child. I said, whoa. He said, but the 12-year-old child did not forgive him. And I'm going to tell you this. So those of you that are mentoring people, you need to know what you're really doing. And if you're not anointed for the stuff that these people are packing, and then you have to know when your season is up. And let me give you a school on that. When people get out of my mentorship, I'm like, great, because guess what? If you are not disciplined, you won't work in my mentorship program. I groom people in giftings and deliverance and healing, but you have to be disciplined, because discipline is the foundation for the step of greatness. See, but if you on fast pro, this press go, like, you just trying to get back there. You just trying to figure out, trying to get everything you lost, trying to get it recovered. Oh yeah. If you're trying to do that, well, my goodness, if that's what you're trying to do, Lord have mercy. If that's what you're really, really, really trying to do, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And you know what? After a while, you're going to get really hurt, because you're going to feel rejected, that everybody in leadership reject you. And then when you keep going to the next church or to the next mentorship or to the next this, and then you got to rise to the top, because you're really on borrowed time, and you've wasted a lot of time. But the greatest thing that you could do is get a mentor that loves you and has the power to shape you up and will not bow or compromise, because they're going to help you get to the path of greatness. My goodness. Now, a mentor literally guides a person who is seeking wisdom. Typically I tell people all the time, I said, I'll ask people straight up. I said, tell me, what do you want from me? Because sometimes I could see that they want something. And sometimes they'll be just as bold to tell me, well, I want you to teach me the gifts. And I'm like, okay. I said, you saved? And they look at me, well, yeah, I'm saved. I said, you filled with the Holy Spirit? Well, yes. Yeah, yes, I speak in like I dare you, ask me. But immediately it lets me know that they don't know much about gifts, because one thing you don't do is approach a prophet recklessness. See, when people deal with me recklessly, I go left, baby. I'll go, I love you. I'm going to pray for you at a distance. And no, because a prophet is not going to train somebody with a reckless mouth. Baby. And people think they could just hold their mouth and be quiet and think that. I know people's spirits, and I know when your mouth is reckless, because I know right when you leave from out of my presence, you got snakes in the mouth, baby. You got a talking demon. You just got to talk. But, and I asked her these things, and I said, you can't really know much about the prophetic, even though you want these gifts. I said, because one thing you should know is that you don't approach a prophet this way. I say, especially not one you're asking to be mentored by. So, there's some things just tell on itself. A spiritual mentor literally deepens their faith, your walk, your love, and most of all, the ability to focus on God. Now, that's for me. I am known to push people in intimacy, to push people in literally radical prayer. And I mean like all night prayer watches, seeking God, praying in the realm, praying in tongues. I mean, that's who I am. Teach you to know him, to walk with him, not just go commune with him every day, but to literally walk with him. My God. And you need to know what that mentor is known for. You need to know what's on their life. You also need to know what their weaknesses on their life as well. Let me see. A spiritual mentor prepares you for the next chapter of your life. Prophetic people understand dimensions, measures, realms, and they understand seasons and chapters. And all of those are different. There are chapters in your life. There are seasons in your life. There are times that shifts come. And when a shift comes, everything changes. Everything changes. But you need to know what this mentor has on their lives. Also, a spiritual mentor helps you to navigate life challenges, align their daily actions with godly values. Yes, because see, a counselor see you for an hour a week, and they help you just navigate your mind and get your heart together and your mind and things of that nature. But a mentor get into what takes to cause you to reach your goals. They get into the who, when, and why this is not happening. Also, you have to understand a mentor is someone who wages war for you. See, there are times some of you are stepping in all these strange territories. You go into these territories, and when you go into these strange territories and you're not equipped, then you get the pushback, or you get the spirit of retaliation, and you wonder why you went in a strange city and a crazy accident happened, and this happened and that happened. See, you need to know but a mentor is going to prepare you. They're going to prepare you for, how should I say? They're going to prepare you for the things that are to come. They're going to wage war for you. See, a real mentor, a prophetic mentor, they see before you see. And sometimes they don't even tell you what they see, because they already send the warring angels. My God. A mentor is someone who will give you truth. Someone who will help you to identify your weakness. Yes. Someone who will help you to open doors, open spiritual doors, physical doors, mental doors. Yes. And they train you and they walk with you. But the bottom line is that you have to understand, some of you all want mentors that you are not, how should I say, you don't have enough integrity that they could even open a door for you. They couldn't even allow you to use their name. Someone who will help you to develop the next dimension of your spiritual giftings. Now, you do know there are dimensions. They are. Someone who will help you to live a life of transparency. And see, some people want mentees, a mentor, so they could just say, okay, pronounce a blessing over me, or help me with this, open up a door for me, let me teach in your class, let me serve you, let me drive you. That's not a real, that's an armor bearer, baby. That's not a mentor. That's not a mentee. You got it all twisted. But a mentorship is an assignment. And let me tell you with this, whenever somebody says they're going to mentor you, you must understand they're going to sacrifice for you. There's times they're going to be pouring into you instead of their own children. There's times that they're going to be praying for you rather than their own church. There are times that they're going to have to navigate and stand in the gap for you, because sometimes there are stages of mentorship. They come in humble. Then when you go in the trenches, they get mad, they get buck wild, then they dump you, then they come back and pick you up. Then when they get kicked again, then they mad this, and then they drag you in. Oh, there's so many stages, tons of stages. But a mentor should be a model based on 1 Corinthians 11:1. They should have a word of encouragement, like Acts 4:36. In the early church leader, Barabbas is celebrated as the son of encouragement, and a mentor should have the word of encouragement, because when you're going through the process of mentorship, man, sometimes there's some dark days. There's yes, a real mentorship. Now, some of you who you really can't be trained because you think you're already there. Well, it is what it is, and I'm just going to be honest with you. I just let them butt their head. I just be there with a Band-Aid when they come back and open up my arms and love on them and let them cry on my shoulder and say, we're going to do this. It's going to be okay. And I've done that. I've let people just go, they go in these places, they go get these titles, they go to these small churches and because somebody's going to use them and ordain them and things of that nature. And they don't really realize what they've stepped in, and they don't live the life of it and haven't cleaned up that bondage from that previous marriage or that previous husband who was a warlock and you don't even know it, or that previous wife that was a full witch and you didn't even know she was. Oh my God. See, but it's the mentor's job to be able to navigate that stuff and bring it on the table and say, let's deal with this. Let's deal with that. See, I used to didn't know what people was when they said they dealt with horoscopes and they were going get their palms read and they were going to do this stuff. And I was just like, well, why are you doing that? Why you need to do that? Why you need to know all of that? Can't God tell you? Yeah, this was in my early years. I didn't know any better. Also, a mentor brings you to strong accountability based on Proverbs 11:14, because you have to understand, mentors promote spiritual growth. They're going to ask you hard questions. They're going to help you. They're going to correct you in sin. They're going to pull you out of wrong perspectives in your head, because you do know when a mentee has been hurt by a parent or by a leader, baby, their heads is jacked up. Those things have hurt them so much they can't even think well. They can't think well. Maya ba 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 ha. Because sometimes they're so wounded, their minds don't think well. Not long ago, I taught a message on a trapped mind. Some of you all should really go look at that. You should really go look at that, because God is really going to use it to help you about a trapped mind. And see, mentors have to understand the power of the mind and be able to know to discern what kind of mind they have. Some people are abandoned. Some people have entitlement. And this is the thing, when they're in these stages, they don't know they are. They just know the good part about them. I have a good heart. I'm anointed. I used to be used by this one and that one. And they don't understand that that's yesterday. I want to know what you did today. Tell me about the anointing today. See, mentors, a real prophetic mentor is going to keep you strapped for the anointing of today. My God. Also, a mentor is there to equip you in wisdom based on Titus. Oh yeah, Titus is going to instruct you on mentorship, on teaching and training young believers and making sure their doctrine is sound. Because, when they come from hurt, they've been in places, they've been hurt. So there's a lot of people in the Bible, if we're going to deal with people of mentorship, biblical mentorship. And that's what we're getting ready to do now, a biblical mentorship. Now, so let's just talk about Moses and Joshua. Moses mentored Joshua to success as a leader. There are going to be people that God is going to send you to as a mentor, because they're preparing you for leadership. And that's based on Deuteronomy 3:28. But you have to know why that person is there. They could be there for many, many reasons. But the Moses anointing for mentorship was to prepare for leadership. Then there's the Elijah anointing for mentorship. And that was to carry the prophetic mantle based on 1 Kings 19, verses 19 through 21. See, there is a leadership anointing for mentorship. There is a prophetic anointing for mentorship. And Jesus mentored his disciples in Matthew 28:19 through 20 and Matthew 4:19. And let me say this to you. He mentored his disciples. He equipped them to spread the gospel. There is some mentors, they come to equip you, get you straight, get you doctrinal, get your life cleaned up, get you presentable, get you where you can go and stand. See, some of you will never have that. Because see, some of these people, they say they mentored you, they say you were on their team, but guess what they did? They just got half those demons out. You still got stuff left in you, but they didn't want to deal with that because it was too deep to deal with. So they just dealt with your gifts. Oh my God. They just dealt with your gifts, and they dealt with your finances, and they knew you were a loving person, but they didn't deal with the real deep thing. And I'm going to say this to you. Now, I know today's message, some of you will think you got it already. Well, we'll find out, because the proof going to be in the pudding. But I'm going to tell you this. If you don't get that stony heart right, you're never going to be able to get where you need to go. You're going to keep bouncing from church to church. Every 2 years, it's going to take them 2 years to find out who you really are. And by the time you keep maneuvering, and you could just say with the last mentor and let them just walk you through, but get out of the trenches. There are many other dimensions to mentorship other than digging in the trenches. So we're gonna keep digging out the bitterness, the demons, and all of this. And one thing about me, I monitor the glory on a person. I monitor the continence of a person. Mandira da bosha. My. Also, this is my favorite one. My favorite one is Paul and Timothy, because I love the way that Paul loved Timothy, and he was such a good mentee. He was loyal. He was faithful. Now, there's not many Timothys. I just want you to know. Oh, no, there's not many Timothy. If you get a Timothy, you've got a rarity. There's not many of them. Paul longed to be with him. His heart missed him because he was so obedient. He was so faithful. In the scripture in 1 Timothy 1:2, and he says he owned son in the faith. He was his own son in the faith. That was so personal. Timothy calling him his own son in his faith. Whoa. See, that just so personal to me. See, the purpose was to establish doctrine and prepare Timothy for pastoral leadership. So see, the Paul training was for leadership of a church. Timothy had to deal, with these churches, and he was set over a particular church. And these churches would always have issues, like the church of Corinth, the supernatural one, the one with all the giftings and everything. But they were some rough people. The church of Ephesus, all of them had their own way, their own way. But God had a pastor or a leader anointed for them. But Timothy was one that was trained by Paul to keep the sound doctrine and to prepare him for pastoral leadership. My goodness. That's 2 Timothy 2, verses 2. Also, you got Paul and Titus, the older women. Paul instructed Titus to model and teach sound doctrine. Yes. See, doctrine was a major thing. He also commanded the older women to mentor younger women so that the word of God would not be blasphemed. That's Titus 2, verses 3 through 6. So, with this being said, let's just go through some core purpose for mentorship. Spiritual transformation, based on Proverbs 27:17. To sharpen one another's faith and help the mentee look like Jesus. That's what you're supposed to be doing. See, there should be a spiritual transformation. And I'm gonna say this. See, people who I really mentor, I promise you, those people always have a transformation. You know why? Because I bring them Jesus. I push more Jesus in them. I push them to know Jesus is Lord. You want to walk with him. You want to talk with him. You want to have a ministry like him. And next is modeling godly behavior based on 1 Corinthians 11:1. And you have to understand, that it says, be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Christ. So a mentor leads by example, and that's what it should be. Accountability. Ecclesiastes 4, verses 9 and 10. And to provide wise counsel, encouragement, correction. Look, and to pull you out and keep you from falling into sin. Oh my goodness. Let me say this. 2 is better than 1. Because if they fall, the one will lift him up as his fellow. So if 1 fall, then we got the other one. Somebody gonna take care of somebody. See, you need 2. Everybody need accountability. Everybody does. If you have a mentee that don't have accountability, they're going to do what they want to do, go where they want to go. Don't think they have to ask permission. And listen, I don't like monitoring people's lives. But I believe if you're going in another country, you should tell me so I can cover you. I believe if you're getting ready to take a pastorship position and you're my mentee, I believe you should let me have a session with you and I should prepare you. I believe, oh, yes. See, some of you all, you don't understand. Mentorship is work. It's pain, baby. Pain. So if you're in a mentorship and you not evolving, and let me say this, let me tell you how you know if you're in the right mentorship. If over the first 3 months, your whole life shift, if over the next 6 months, your holiness change, your consciousness of God, oh, baby, you in the right place. Go back and find that person. Because if there's a spiritual transition and a spiritual change, you know they're pushing Jesus. Also, you have to understand a generational legacy. To pass on wisdom and doctrine and the testimony of God's work. See, people mentor so that they can pass it on. This says Psalms 145:4. One generation shall praise thy works to another and shall declare thy mighty acts. See, but you mentor, you pass it on. Just like when they first started with the Bible, what did they do? They told them, share it with your generations and your generation. At that time, that was the miracles. That was the training. That was the living Bible. That's how the Bible, it was word for word until what? Might start writing it down, writing it on the stone and writing it in paper. So mentorship is powerful for generational legacy. But let's just walk the word just a little bit before we end, because I want to give you some scriptures, because I want you to study this. And you must understand that there's vultures out here, and you need to make sure when you go ask somebody to mentor you, you need to know what you're asking. Because if they're a real prophetic mentor, they're going to look at you and they're going to discern whether you really want help or what you're coming for, or what you got in your mind, and are you really ready? I'll ask people sometime in the middle of the service. I say, look, you sure you want to be mentored by me? I say, because it's no joke. I don't play. I don't pacify. You're not going to be able to throw no tantrums, and you're not going to be able to demand me to call you. That's not mentorship. Job, this is some scriptures that I want you to read in your leisure. Job 12:12. And you have to understand, is it not wisdom found among the age? I'm sorry, you need to find a mentor that's got some age. And that don't mean physical age. It means age in the spirit, age in life, age in the prophetic, age in the season thing of God. Also, Proverbs 2:6. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. You need a mentor that's going to have wisdom and knowledge coming from God's mouth, and they're going to push Jesus. Proverbs 16:16. How much better to get wisdom than gold, to get insight rather than silver. Sometimes you just need a mentor to give you wisdom because you need somebody to see deeper than you. Proverbs 13:10. Where there is strife, there is pride, but wisdom is found in those who take advice. My goodness. Proverbs 19:8. The one who gets wisdom loves life, and the one who cherishes understanding will soon prosper. Oh my goodness. See, mentors are going to teach you to prosper. They are. Well, just before we end, this is our last part, and I have to say it because it just has to be said. What do you do if you have been in a mentorship relationship and you have gotten wounded? Let me give you a checklist. Let's just make sure you did the right things. Let's make sure the motive was right. Let's make sure you did what God said for you to do. Make sure you wasn't looking for your mother or your father. Make sure that you weren't falling, how should I say, into a romantic fantasy with that mentor. Make sure you weren't expecting something that mentor did not promise. Make sure that it was aligned with the word, it was aligned with God, that you sought God. So I'm just going to give you those checks first, because there's a lot of wounded mentees, and they'll be like, well, I just know, you wanted your dreams interpreted every week. You wanted somebody to tell you it was okay for you to stay with your ex-husband. You wanted somebody to tell you that, prophesy to me on here and prophesy to me here. No, see, a true mentor make you walk that word. A true mentor makes you know God. They make you walk with God. They train you in the voice of God. They make you be honorable. Oh my God, my God. Okay, so maybe you were wounded. Maybe they tried to seduce you. Well, I just want to know, what did they have their wife there? Or did they have their husband there? Did God tell you this? Are you sure you weren't being counseled about a marriage as opposed to being mentored? Because there are times I've seen people fall into situations after they've lost a wife or lost a husband or went through tragedy, and then the mentorship turns into a relationship, which is totally out of God. My God, how you gonna be in a relationship with someone you're mentoring? My God, it's called sex trafficking in the church. My God, korabashi. But sometimes, because that mentee go there with all their suitcases looking for somebody to come fix me. I'm sorry. Now, there are mentees that I do call, especially if they're in a 911 situation. Sometimes, once they get out of the trenches and they're on safety, I let them go. I let them soar. Go be great. Go do what you need to do. I just need to make sure I do what God tells me to do. And there are some of my mentees I do. I send people to come counsel them. When they come, I fellowship with them. I spend time with them and their time. But see, as led of the Lord, because nobody's going to demand from me. Because see, that's where you get into the soothsaying thing. And when you have people who's engaged in witchcraft and engaged in the soothsayer thing, they just looking for a dollar profit. I'm your mentee. That's okay. I'm not your mama. I'm not your mama, and I'm not your daddy. I'm not either of them. And even parents don't have to do things for you. When you're a grown woman or a grown man and you've made decisions and you've made things and got yourself in situations, you need to look back at the woman in the mirror or the man in the mirror. See, because if you point your finger at somebody, there's three other pointing back at you. You need to think about that. Now, listen, I've been a mentee before to several people. And this is how I know how to be a mentor. Because one, I sought them out. I did everything that they said. I was obedient. But I waited according to the word of God. Mande urabashe moko o rebo shandera rabaha. My God, listen to me. Listen. See, because you got that church hurt. You're going to let the demons speak in your ear and keep that bitterness. Then you're going to hinder your prophetic. You're going to hinder your gift. Then you're going to have to walk in the flesh and make things happen, hooking up with all kind of strange people because you're lonely. But I'm going to tell you this, you're just going to walk into a ball of wax and you're going to be hurt. But you got to forgive and you have to take accountability for things that you did. Sometimes maybe you didn't know no better. I've been there too, didn't know any better. Just clueless. Just clueless. And those of you that have mentees, mentees, and you don't hold them accountable, you let them go fall into sin and just say, oh, well, she didn't know no better. It's not right. You're going to be held accountable for that. You have to make it hard for them because it's not okay. Because that sin going to hold up their gifts. It's going to pass on to their children. And it could be their life or a disease. My God. Let me give you some scriptures. And this is for the wounded mentee. And I want you to work these scriptures. Put them in the Message version, the Passion version, and the Amplified Bible. And I think it's going to be a blessing for you, especially the Passion version. Zechariah 13:6. And you have to understand, and all of us know this one for sure. And it says, and one shall say unto him, what are these wounds in thy hand? Then he shall answer, those which I was wounded in the house of my friend. Come on now. Because you do know sometime, and I'm going to say this, you and your mentor, you shouldn't be no friends. You shouldn't be getting common. That's how you lift the anointing off of it. That's how God will cut that thing. And then you be wondering why they cut you. Because you got common. You got common. That's why. Because when you get common with the anointing and common with the prophetic, you offend God, my Lord. Psalms 147:3. He healeth the brokenhearted and bind up their wounds. So you better get those wounds binded up. Because if you don't get them binded up, you're going to go from one person to the next. But I promise you, if you've had 3 mentors, or you've went from one pastor helping you and another pastor, baby, you got a spirit inside of you and they all click into it. So you need to ask yourself, what is in you that's drawing that? And then you might find your answer. Proverbs 18:14. The spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity, but a wounded spirit who can bear? Now, I understand that some of this stuff, it may not have been your fault. And I understand when you thought you were in the right thing. You really thought you were in something that was godly. And it turned out not to be. And you know what? I'm so sorry for you. I'm sorry. But I'm just going to ask you to please go seek deliverance. You got to get healed. Because if you got a wounded spirit, your gifts are going to be tainted. You're going to be offended quickly. You're easy to get hurt. You're going to have that entitlement. You're going to go from church to church telling everybody your story. But do you know you're eating up years, and you're going to find that you're going to start aging with gray hair, and you're going to start missing seasons where you should have been walking in the glory. Last but definitely not least is Isaiah 53:3. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities, and the chastisement of our peace was upon him. And with his stripes we are healed. With his stripes you are healed. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, my goodness. With his stripes you are healed. Oh my goodness. Well, I tell you what, I'm just excited that I pray that something I've said has blessed you. And I pray that some of you that's been wounded, God has given you answers to some things. And I'm just going to say this, and I just have to say this. I apologize for any one of those pastors or mentors that misused you for money, that sexually abused you or misused you or brought you into relationship. I'm so sorry. And I want to applaud you to forgive them. But today I pray for healing of your hearts. And I pray for restoration, because just because that mentor was bad, that don't mean all of them are. And just because that pastor was crooked or not integrity, that does not mean, because there are pastors after God's heart. And there are mentors that are prophetic, that are strapped, that will keep you accountable and love you at the same time. God bless you. Hey, everybody, let me just tell you, I'm on my way to Durham, North Carolina for a 3-day event. And I tell you what, I'm going to be training on knowing your calling and being released into warfare, and how to deal with the warfare that comes upon your life once you accept your calling. Oh my God. We have 2 days of training, and we're going to start with a prophetic gathering, which will be that first night on Friday. And then we have a class on Saturday, and then on Sunday is our service that's open to the public. You are well to come, but you do have to RSVP. But that Sunday service is free and open to the public. Also, I would also like you to know that I'm headed to Illinois, and it's going to be a 1-day event on that Sunday. Open to the public. You just need to RSVP, and I look forward to seeing you there. And remember, the venue in Illinois has changed, so make sure you go to the website and check your emails and stay up on the changes, and just get ready, because I'm going to be teaching on what's holding you back. And I promise you, the Lord said that I can release prophetic wisdom to help them to know what's holding them back. You know, so many people are in churches and they're just holding a seat and part of a committee, but nobody tells them what's in them. And I don't believe that you should be in a church for 30 years sitting there doing the same thing. I believe there's a ministry on the inside of you, but you need to be trained, and you need to be prepared, and you need to serve. So I tell you what, we're going to have fun. I'm excited about it. I long to see you. Remember, Durham, North Carolina, I'll see you very soon. And Bloomington, Illinois, I'm on my way. God bless you. Remember, go to prophetessmiranda.com. Go to prophetessmiranda.com. There's always something new. God bless you. Have an amazing day. And remember this, God has a mentor for you. I'm praying for you. God bless.
Thank you for joining us for today's Prophetic View broadcast. Don't forget to register for Prophetess Miranda's new school platform, launching August 10th. Early enrollment is available now. Visit www.prophetessmiranda.com to secure your place today and register for free. Beginning August 10th, the entire Prophetic View broadcast library and all future live broadcasts will be available exclusively through the new school platform. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you at the next Prophetic View broadcast.
We are coming to Durham, North Carolina at the end of July, hosting